Welcome to Treasurer's Training. I'm from Student. I guess you get that a lot probably. From Student Money Management Center will be presenting today. So go ahead and get started.
Okay, so how's everyone doing this fine afternoon? Y'all good?
How are you?
I'm good actually. My name is St. Mitchell. I am a sophomore and I am a business real estate major with a minor in entrepreneurship. And I'm here to educate you on the basics of treasurer training. So has anyone ever been to a treasurer's training before? You have? Okay, I hope I get to live up to your expectations and of what this is going to be. Mostly, I'm going to give you a little rundown, synopsis. It's going to be mostly interactive because I know people who just get tired and they just stare up here and just watch me talk. It's going to be boring, but we're going to make it as live as y'all want to make it live. So when I ask y'all questions, y'all interact and it will go by quick and smooth in a hurry. And like I said, I am a part of the Student Money Management Center. We are located in Chestnut Hall 313. And for those of you who don't know, that's over there by the rec center, full rec center. And we are about to get started. Goals: identify the right options for your organization as a treasurer, develop a system to keep track of money, maintain restrictive access to funds, and transitional training. These are going to be the four main key topics that we touch on throughout the duration of this presentation. But first, I'm gonna test your little treasurer's knowledge, a little rundown, and I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios. So here's the rundown. Your organization has elected you as the brand new treasurer, your organization has elected you as a brand new treasurer. The previous treasurer graduated and now you are in charge. You and your group come up with new guidelines that you always are going to follow as a treasurer, and these are the guidelines. The balance in the account should never go under $200. So this is what your org came up with, and this is only a hypothetical situation just for the purposes of this presentation. So the balance in the account should never go under $200. Number 2, purchases under $30 will be split amongst members and paid for out of their personal accounts. And 3, charges to the accounts should be for business only. And I put what business classified under here below. So do you guys think you can remember that, or like you want me to write it on the board? Y'all got it? All right. So first scenario, Ron, your vice president's car gets towed at the event, at your own event. Ron comes to you and makes an appeal to use the org account to get his car from the towing company since it happened at your organization event. Do you approve this transaction? Why or why not? No. Why not?
First personal expense.
Can I get y'all to raise y'all's hands?
The car isn't under the organization title, so it would be like, no. Yeah.
Anyone else?
It's the personal expense.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Personal expense is not under the organization's name, and that is actually correct. You would not approve this transaction based on the rules and guidelines that your organs came up with. One, it's not a moral transaction to use your organization account for personal expenses anyway, and this is a personal expense. If the car was maybe your org's car, or like if it was like the Green Brigade and like Talons and like they had a mean green machine taken or something and they need to get it out, that would be a fund that you would use, but not not your vice president's personal car. So that's actually good, and that's good that y'all got that right. So we're gonna move to the next scenario. Scenario 2, your organization is buying supplies for their annual cookout. It is a free event to attend, and the total of the transaction is $100 for everything. You have $250 in your account. Do you approve this transaction? Yes or no?
No.
Your fund will be under 50.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else with an opposing viewpoint? And that is correct, actually. You would not approve that transaction because you should always go based off of what your org has set up for you. In the beginning, they said we always want to have at least $200 in our account, and it's good. And just so happens that it's 150. So what you would do you either get like cheaper supplies or you just come out for the extra 50 out of you guys' own pocket. And in organizations, if you do that, it makes costs so much easier. So let's say you have like 15 people in your org and you divide that by like, you divide $50 by 15 people, you're practically paying like nothing for it. So if there's ever a restriction on how much you can spend or how much you want in your account, you always want to make sure that you're always following the guidelines and regulations. If you can grab something in the back and get something. Scenario number 3. Okay, let's hear this one. A general member finds a venue for your org to throw your biggest event of the year at. The cost is $2,500 and you have $2,700 in your account. You expect an attendance of 500 and tickets are going to be $10. Do you approve this transaction, yes or no? Yes?
Yes, because after the initial cost, you'll have $200 in your account, so you're so good, and you'll make profit off of the ticket sales.
Anyone else? Anyone else with a opposing viewpoint? Anyone who would not approve this transaction? And what's your name?
Danny.
Danny. And as Danny said, you would approve this transaction because not only does it fit into the guidelines of everything that your org has set for you already, you will also be making money back. And that's when it comes to fundraising. You always have to be willing to spend money to make money. And as long as you're not violating anything, any of your roles or your guidelines that your org has set up for you, you're fine. And this would be a very profitable, it would be a very profitable, you put in $2,500 and get $2,500 back on top of what you already made. It's kind of nice. So always be looking for fundraising activities. I'll talk more about different types of fundraising activities that y'all could possibly try out for yourself for your own orgs. Okay, right now I'm going to talk about the type of payment that you should probably be using for your org. There's some orgs who still use checks, but checks aren't the most efficient way to make purchases, and the debit card is. Debit cards are more liquid and you can make purchases online, you could have it at the store, you can swipe it. It's really nice. The only problem is you can overdraft it. There can be, multiple cards. If your org has someone with multiple cards, if your org has multiple cards and different people have it, it's gonna be a lot harder to keep track of your money because everyone else has different cards. But there are guidelines in place that you can use if you do have multiple cards to make it where people just aren't swiping and there's like checks and balances. Have that. Alright, so just again, clear roles and responsibilities for you as a treasurer, your organization budget, bylaws and procedures, and training and transition plans. So these are like the general roles of the treasurer. You can have more roles, you can have less roles, but overall, this is usually what treasurers are in charge of. So like receipts. Anytime you get a receipt, you should always keep track of your receipts because receipts are what save you as a treasurer. If something goes missing and you don't have a receipt, there's literally nothing to back you up. It's like, well, where'd all this money go for this? It's like, oh, remember we had to buy a tent. But if there's no receipt for the tent purchase that you bought, then come on now. And so next, require prior purchase approval for all purchases being made by officers, members, and advisors. So like I said, for the one with multiple cards, if you were to have multiple cards, you could always get one of your officers above you to sign off. Or if the president wants to make a purchase, you have to sign off. Or if the vice president wants to make a purchase, you or the president would have to sign off on the purchase. It's all about communication and making sure that the officers know where the money is going and what money is coming in. Pay off financial obligations promptly. You do not want to have a bunch of debt just sitting around piling up, accumulated. It looks bad for your org, and if you have the money, you should pay it. Or if you have the money and you don't want to go below a certain amount, make payment plans. You can always talk to different entities and make a payment plan. It's like, we don't have the money all right now, but we can make monthly payments, bi-weekly payments, like every 3 months. Just anything that you can do to set up to make sure that you have it. Keep good financial records, including details about your organization's banking procedures. So this kind of goes along with the receipts, but this also includes like donations you may receive or like charges that you make for your account for things that you are throwing. So let's say an alumni member of your org gives you $1,000. You should write that down too. So I'm gonna show you different methods, and I'm gonna talk about different methods you can use. Like there's Excel sheets and there's other things, but we'll get more into detail about that later. And it says regularly report financial records to leadership. So whenever you guys have like whenever you guys have like organization meetings and stuff, and it's your turn to present, you should always keep your org updated on like its funds and expenses, because people can't plan things if they don't know how much money they have. So if you're trying to plan like, oh, we're gonna have like this really elaborate event and it's costing about like $1,000 on paper, maybe $500, then you have like $100 left and they don't know, that causes problems to begin with. So you should always, your organization should always be on the same page as you are when it comes to your financials. And this is a little treasurer's report right here that I'll pull up on the screen. As you can see, this is just one way you can record your balances. So up here, it says membership dues collected $250, t-shirt sales $430, donation from Mrs. Jones $1,000, interest earned from bank $150, and they put it all for like their incomes. And then for their expenses, they have a list of all their expenses laid out too. So it says welcome back lunch for school staff, t-shirts for sale, lunch for school, bank service change. And it says, and then after you have your income of all your income and all your expenses written out, so this is for the month, and this is just a monthly report. You can do a monthly report or a yearly report. You subtract your expenses from your income, and that's how much money you have for the month. This will be a good tool for you to use monthly. So at the beginning of the month, when your org is game planning and trying to come up with what you're going to do for that month, you will know how much money you have to work with and boom. You should also want to set a budget too, but I'll get more into that later. And this is just an example. All right, so group-based budget. I'm gonna go over 2 different types of budgetings for you. Group-based budgets for your debit card. So there's only one account, group members share a card, and you must have permissions to use it. So if your org were to have just have one account with one card, you would be the treasurer, you'd be the sole person to hold it and have control of it. And whenever purchases need to be made, people will come through you and be like, hey, we need money for food. And then you would go through and be like, okay, well, and then you would get it approved like that, and then you would go swipe the card with just one card. And this is nice because it eliminates potential misuse, because if you always have the card, you don't have to worry about anyone else using the card. And as treasurers, we're supposed to be ethical because we're managing the money, and nobody should be like taking money out or anything. But the safest the card is always going to be in is your hands, because that is your responsibility and you are the treasurer. So this is just one method, and the other method I was talking about, officer/project-based budget. It's still only one account, but it has multiple cards, and for this one, it gives you a budget for like each officer or projects. So let's say you were on the project committee for let's say a cookout. So you're on the project committee, and you have your own specific card, you only have a certain limit that you can use on that card. So like, let's say it's $250. If your thing goes over $250, you shouldn't use it. If your thing goes over $250, you shouldn't be able to use it. And it's like a limit, and it puts limits in place, so you're not like going over it. Or if you do go over, you'll like reimburse. And you can see, because you'll be in charge of the account, and you can see everything, and you'll know if somebody goes over using this method. You check to see like, hey, what are these purchases? This is over your limit, and you can talk to your person about that and assign consequences, so on and so forth, for violating your limits. This one is nice because it allows for group members to go make purchases on their own and then come back and then get it approved like that. As long as you never go over your budget that is set, you are fine. But if you do, then there's another story, consequences, and consequences are established through your own board. Okay, so transition. Transition is a key, important factor in being a treasurer, because you are not always going to be your organization's treasurer. So in transition, have a training orientation for new treasurer 2 months prior to term of serving, of service ending. So you always want to make sure that your new treasurer is trained properly and knows how your org runs. Because if you just leave, graduate, and your new treasurer is like, okay, what happened? Then that's not good for your org, it's not good for the new treasurer, and it's not a good look for you, because it's like, why didn't you teach them anything? Like, you always want to make sure that the new treasurer is capable and your org is in good hands. It says a handbook should be provided to an incoming treasurer. Now, I'm not sure if all orgs have handbooks, but if you do, it would be nice. Maybe if you have like a step-by-step like guideline, or like a list of responsibilities at the beginning. It's like, oh, as a treasurer, I'm in charge of managing the money, approving purchases, and yada, 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 whatever your org decided for your roles to be as treasurer. Financial records should be up to date. Yeah, like I said earlier, you should always have your financial records up to date, but you should keep your new treasurer that you just elected updated on that too. So if you have, let's say Wells Fargo is your bank and you had elections already, your new treasurer should be going with you to the bank. And there's also, if you do have a bank, if you do have a bank, you have to transfer your name off of it to the new treasurer in order for the new treasurer to be in control and have that new control of financial records. So always make sure you transfer the name of whose the account name is in. Did that make any sense? Okay. I'm sorry. Signatory authorities on any accounts charged. Another officer should conduct sign-off and audit organizations of financial statements. This is just transitional stuff. This is basically just saying to make sure your new treasurer is up to date and has everything that you had access to, so the treasurer can be just as good as you were in the future. So transitional tools that'll help with treasury. You can have an Excel sheet, so you can keep the list of all your funds on a big wide spreadsheet, and like, so kind of like that previous example where it's like all your income and then like the expenses. Excel is a good tool to use. OrgSync, I know there's different programs on OrgSync you can use that allows you to sort and organize like your funds. But really, a good method that I personally would use is like just have a big Google Doc and like have all your files in a Google Doc and just share a Google Doc. But only have it where certain people can edit it. Because if everyone can edit it, then it kind of takes away your power as the treasurer. So you can show your like financial reports and like keep it updated for them, but nobody else should be able to edit it. That is your job. You're the one who's you're the one who's in charge of the account. You're the one who's in charge of updating personal information, not personal information, personal financial information about the org itself. So make sure that's always done through you and never handed off secondhand. Okay, fundraising thoughts. Now this is the process that you need to go through when you think about choosing your specific fundraiser. So define a need and the amount to be raised. So why are you raising the money? Why do you need to fundraise? What are you raising the money for? And how much do you need specifically? Do the math. How much is your fundraiser going to cost? Now, like I said, fundraisers, you have to spend money in order to make money. So you have to think about all the expenses that go into planning a fundraiser, maybe gas cost, supply cost, venue cost, anything like that. Maintain a positive image for your organization. Now, there are some fundraising tools such as parties, which are a good way to gain money for your organization, but it may not be a positive image for your organization all the time, depending on what you do and the flyer and the party itself. So you should always want to make sure you maintain a positive image, because if you don't, and you're just out here wilding, it's a bad look, and then you'll lose funding and other things as such. Review UNT policy fundraising guidelines. There are UNT policy fundraising guidelines. You just can't do anything willy-nilly anywhere. You have to know the guidelines. You have to reserve spaces. You have to just know the right people to get in contact to. And this is all on OrgSync. They have a lot of forums with the fundraising guidelines on OrgSync if you want to check that out later afterwards. And fundraise according to mission. What is your org's mission statement? What do you guys stand for? What are you guys trying to accomplish? That is really the key thing to picking the fundraising opportunity that will be the best for you. So let's say you're let's say you're a fraternity. In your fraternity, your mission statement could be Brotherhood, Scholarship, and Service. So your fundraising should be more geared toward Brotherhood, Scholarship, and Service. Let's say you're a Pokemon Club. You're a Pokemon Club. You would want to do a Pokemon fundraiser, kind of, because it appeals more towards your audience. You should always appeal towards your audience, and you know the people who come to your meetings and who are in your org. So maybe Pokemon Club wouldn't want to throw a party because Pokemon Club, that's not what Pokemon Club is about. So you should always match what your org is for your fundraising to maximize the amount of profit you can get. Different types of fundraising, Eagle's Nest. So how many of you actually heard about Eagle's Nest? Does anyone want to explain? You in the front right here. You want to explain what Eagle's Nest is?
Eagle Nest is basically a program through SGA where they're going to be funding organizations' money. So the application goes on November 1st. So what you do is you're going to pick a fundraising idea, or you want to pick an event that you want to have, and you plan it out, you budget it, stuff like that, and then you apply through the Eagle's Nest on SGA, and you have a presentation. You'll kind of talk to like why you need the money, and make sure you do it 4 weeks in advance before your event. If it's not 4 weeks in advance, they're not going to give you the money. You're going to disqualify off the bat. And yeah, so they just give you money. I forgot the limit that they give you, but it's like a certain amount that you're like, I think it's like 1,000, something like that, to give you money to fund the event. So it's pretty cool.
That's actually it. That's actually it. That was a great job. What's your name? Destiny. Well, thank you a lot, Destiny, for that rundown. Homecoming. Same thing, kind of like Eagle's Nest. There is a homecoming application. It is on OrgSync. So what you would do for the homecoming application, go to your OrgSync account. It's under 2018 Fall Homecoming Application. You'll fill it out for your org. You'll specify like what event you want to, like the event that you want to do for homecoming, and you can get funding for your homecoming event. So it's I'm not sure about the limits on how much money they can loan out to you, but you should definitely want to take advantage. You should definitely take advantage of that if you are planning something for a homecoming. It is on board season. And parties, this is a different type of fundraiser. Parties aren't effective for everybody. You could do a pie in the face, or you could do a study session fundraiser, or you can just do something that you know that you can get the maximum amount of people from your org to come out. That's what you should do for like your fundraising activities, because you always want to play to your strengths. You should never want to I know a lot of people want to focus oh, I'm weak in this, I'm gonna get better at this, and improve this. But if you're good at everything, you'll never be great at anything. You know what I mean? If you're good at everything, you'll never be great at anything. So just do what your org is great at and just build on that from the top pillars. Keys to financial success. So just a little rundown. Use internal controls, require signatures of at least 2 officers. So it says at least 2 officers. You're an officer, so that's 1 signature out the way, and then just get somebody else, like your president or vice president, and to sign off on stuff. If you must use a debit card, only get 1 and come up with a formal process for how purchases will be handled. If you already have multiple cards and one isn't possible or feasible for you, that is fine too. But I found that the 1 card method is more effective because it eliminates the potential chance for misuse. Maintain current files on your organization's financials. So from receipts to donations to anything that you do for your org, make sure you're documenting it and writing it down to not only cover yourself, but to make sure your org knows what's happening with its money. Consider creating a prior approval purchasing form for your organization. A prior approval purchasing form is something that your org can put in place that allows you to. It's like a formal document, like you're asking for money. So you fill out the document, you fill out what it's for, and then your members will give it to you, and you would go through them, and you approve the ones that you feel like would be the best, or you disapprove the ones like, no, this is a bad idea, we're not gonna waste our money on that. No. Cash and checks should be deposited within 24 hours of receiving. I didn't really talk much on that, but if you do receive cash and checks for your organization, you do not want to be running around with your org's cash on you for 5 days on end, because cash, it's very liquid, not very traceable that well, and this is bad, and you don't want to have all that hassle of having cash or checks on you, or you could lose cash or checks. Just a good rule of thumb that I would apply by is whenever you get the money, go put the money on your account for your chapter account. Or if you do get the money and you can't do it right away, put it somewhere separate from your own money so you don't forget. Because it's a thing about maturity and responsibility as well. You should always handle your responsibilities as soon as you get them. Do I have any questions or any hypothetical scenarios that you want to work through, or anything about what we just went over? Y'all good? Y'all solid? Nothing?
Can we touch on taxes for orgs? Can you talk about that or?
Yeah.
I could talk about that if you want me to. Okay, yeah, I can talk about taxes. What would you like to know specifically?
So I'm the treasurer for my org, and our org is kind of new. So when I came in, there was no information on any of that. So I mean, I kind of have a general idea of what I'm supposed to do, but other than that, I have no clue how to file any taxes for my org.
Gotcha. So if your org is bringing in more than $5,000 annually, then you need to be paying federal income tax. If you are not, then you do not need to worry about tax.
Okay.
As far as tax exemption, if your organization, do you have a checking account already? Do you have a bank account?
We're still waiting on our checking account verification form from Student Activities.
Okay. Did y'all complete registration?
It's still pending though, but,
Okay. So we're probably waiting on something, your president and advisor haven't approved yet. That
They
might be
just
what
did.
we're waiting for. Okay, so give us a few days, we'll get that to you so that you can make the changes on your account. So as far as tax exemption goes, just so you all know, if y'all are going out and asking for donations, from donors or things for your organization, you need to let them know that more than likely you are not tax exempt. For any organizations that work with a state or national affiliate, you can reach out to them. If they're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and ask for their tax exempt status and ask for that paperwork. But the majority of our organizations are not tax exempt, so you need to make sure you're letting businesses or donors know that when you're going and asking for donations or working with them to do fundraisers. So know that. If you ever have issues asking or getting donations because of that, we can write you a letter just letting them know that you're an organization here at UNT and you're not operating for a profit. You're just running as a student organization here on campus. So you can always request that, email us, and we can provide that letter to you. And the other thing, I was going to mention one more thing about tax exemption. What was it? If you're doing fundraisers, make sure that you have an account set up and that you have an employer or an EIN or a tax ID number that you can provide that business, because you're more than likely going to need to fill out a W-9 in order to get those funds that you've raised through that fundraiser. So make sure that you have an account set up and you've got your EIN and tax ID number so that you can put that on the W-9 form. Does that answer all your questions? Okay.
That was a great question, actually. I did not touch on that.
Yes.
I have a question. So on the W-9, when I was filling it out, I guess the second question, I think we talked about it. It says like what are you, like corporations, stuff like that. Do we put other and then?
Yes.
Okay.
Select other, just like you would when you went to fill in, or it might not have been you, but when you went to request that EIN, you're kind of selecting that you're basically a student organization, you're a school entity. So you can put that in and just say you're a student organization and select other. Yeah. Other questions or things that you might have for Saint or for me from since I'm from Student Activities. I'm Callie, by the way, for those who aren't tonight.
Do you have more like meetings or events on fundraising?
Yes, actually we do. The Student Money Management Center, we can come out and we can speak to your org specifically about any numerous number of money topics. So like this presentation, well, this is more treasurer training, but we can do fundraising, we can do cryptocurrency, credit, just anything you think of that has to do with money, you can do that. Our email is up here, moneymanagement@unt.edu. All you would do to get us to come out to your event and to come speak for you is email us, tell us the date and the time, what it's for, and like what you want us to present. And we could be in contact with you, convene with you, and we can get something set up. So that's our email right there. If you would like for us to come out and speak.
If we want a more in-depth thing about like the tax, can we go to one-on-one meeting with like officers?
Yes, well, also at the Student Money Management Center, we offer one-on-one coaching with peer mentors such as myself or anyone else in the office. We can talk about taxes, anything, just like the presentations. We can give coaching advice over numerous money topics, but it's not just peer mentors. We get coached by our supervisors too, maybe by our supervisors in the back, Rachel. And yeah, so if you get coached, come in to Chestnut 313, or you can call and make an appointment there or do it online. Do that email.
The Student Activities Office offers the same thing, so if there's ever something that you want at Student Money Management to cover, you can reach out to us and we can have someone come present to you, or you can meet with Alex or myself one-on-one. We take student orientations all the time to discuss different things. So.
Any other questions?
So
you have any resources to like, cause my sorority is actually hosting like regional conference next semester, and we're hosting it here, so we're bringing like our sisters from the whole region, like, if you have any type of like resources to help plan something like that big?
So we can definitely get you in contact with our event safety committee, so you're probably gonna have to meet with the event safety committee anyways for that event particularly, because of the particular circumstances that that event will have. So what we can do is we can have, or you would be willing to sit down with you and kind of go through some step-by-step event planning. And we can do that in our office as well, set you up with someone to talk about event planning specifically and what you may need to consider and kind of the timeline of events. So we can definitely do that. You can reach out to our office.
I have another question for tax exemption.
Yes.
When your organization is off and then trying to get back on tax exemption, is that when you pay your federal income tax?
What do you mean you were off and now you're back on? What do you
So,
mean
I'm in a fraternity, and
Okay.
the treasurer 2 years ago didn't file anything.
Okay.
The ones before them, we passed the 3 years, got off tax exemption.
I would work with your national headquarters on that, so they're gonna be able to provide you with a lot more details about that specifically, because you should be reporting things to them anyways. So I would work directly with your national headquarters on that. Yes.
What if you don't have the national headquarters?
Yes, so if you don't have a national, headquarters or a national state affiliate, unless you're bringing in more than $5,000 annually, you don't have to worry about paying federal income tax.
But if the state, if it's under 50,000, you're supposed to file electronically doing the Form 990. But if you do not do that for 3 years, then you lose the tax exemption. So if we file again with that, then we get in trouble for the IRS.
So is your organization is tax exempt?
It is tax exempt, but it has not filed for over 3 years, so that's why.
Okay, so I don't know specifically what those details would be. Do you know a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as long as you didn't owe,
No.
there's not a penalty. So
Okay.
if you made $10,000 and they find out that you didn't pay your taxes, you didn't file on time, then there's gonna be some penalties that you would have to work through, and you can set up payment plans and different things like that. But if you're under that $5,000 amount, you just need to go back into the form and recertify yourself. And then they will kind of say, okay, let me look and see what happened here. It might take a little bit longer, and then you will go back into positive status.
So number one, we can still file normally every year.
Yes.
And then number two is we do get donation because we affiliated with the professional groups, about $2,000 every year, but we don't do any fundraising, so we won't get in trouble for that.
Yeah, so you're still under that threshold that they're talking about. And this is kind of something to think about in the transitional plan, and this happens in some orgs that I'm also part of, that the professional level, when you transition, somebody needs to know what the tax information is, because what the IRS does currently is send you a postcard to say, hey, by the way, you need to recertify for this year. And since you don't have to do it annually in some orgs, that person might not even be a part of your org anymore, or you might not have access to that mailbox. So you want to make sure in your transition plan that you provide a copy of your EIN letter, which tells you what your what your EIN number is, so that people know what that looks like. So if you miss out on that postcard, you know, oh yeah, we do have an EIN number, so that means we need to be filing our form every 2 years or every year, depending upon the status of your org. So just something to keep in mind in your transition plan, apart from just transitioning. Here's what the budget last year looked like. Here's the bank accounts we use, passwords, things like that. It's also that tax information moving forward.
Okay, so if you don't know who the name is and ask for principal name and the phone number,
You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna call the IRS, and you're gonna be on hold for a long time, and they'll eventually get back to you, or you can try to also mail in a request for information.
So we cannot use a faculty name, we have to use the name that we originally registered? Because it changed.
Let's talk afterwards, and you'll have to tell me, because that's getting really down into the weeds there. But just keep track of that information and know who if you have your original EIN form that helps you dispel any of these issues of who was the principal person who applied for the EIN number.